Consciousness. Consciousness means to be aware of the self and surroundings. Intuition. And instinctive understanding or feeling without reasoning. So this course is centered around and guided under the concepts of both intuition and consciousness and how they interplay with one another in an effort to help you, the student or the participant, in expanding and growing both your consciousness and elevating your intuition. I'm Leanne Thomas, and I'm really grateful that you have found this video. If you're watching it on video, or if you are live here in class with me, it is a pleasure and an honor for everyone to be here. These first 4 classes are designed with the concept to attune your soul to access your intuition through the process of expanding your consciousness. And consciousness grows with us as we grow in age, even what we understand and what we know about the world, or how we're participating in it, and the experiences that we're having, and how that widens how we see things or perceive things, believe it, and understand. And we're very much shaped with societal norms and how we navigate within our different cultures and our different peer groups, and the interplay of that consciousness as we grow. And we have stages of being an infant and a toddler and an adolescence, and we grow and evolve with that. Our understanding of the world grows and evolves with that. And there is a part of our consciousness that is my belief that connects us not only mind and body, but to our soul. Therefore, if we are connected to the soul, then there is a way of navigating that process that invites in the divine and inner knowings. And so it is my wish and my hope that through this process that you guys have a stronger inner sense of knowing of who you are and your authenticity in the world. Let's dive into here the idea of consciousness a little bit more, and then intuition. And then I'm going to kind of switch gears. Consciousness refers to the state of being aware of and able to think about one's own existence. And we're involved in our own existence and how we're participating in it, then we can make decisions on the feelings and emotions and attitudes that we want to invite in. And so we don't need to demonize any particular emotion or feeling, but we begin to stop saying so much that I can't help it. This is how I feel. And we acknowledge how we feel, and we use it to help vibe us up. It involves the ability to experience and respond to the world, as well as reflect on one's own mental and emotional states. Consciousness is often thought of as the continuous stream of awareness that allows us to interpret sensory input, make decisions, and experience life, and make it more of our choosing and our desire. What we are wanting. We might be experiencing struggle, but we can soften that through the understandings that we can bring to it. And that's kind of the process of intuition, right? Is to help us dive in deep, because intuition is more than what we know may or may not happen. It's our experiencing of energy as well. And so intuition, on the other hand, refers to the ability to understand or know something instinctively, or on a soul level, or that gut level, or from our heart, right? Without the need for conscious reasoning. It's often described as a gut feeling or a sense of knowing that emerges quickly and without clear logical analysis. Intuition draws us past experiences and subconscious processing, allowing a person to make decisions, to come to conclusions quickly, even if they can't fully understand why they feel a certain way. And learning to trust that can be very key. And we can get so good at learning to trust that we can even be a light for others. Doesn't mean that you have to go out there and become, your local intuitive or psychic or whatever term you want to use with that. But it means that in the surrounding with you, you are a solid, stabilizing force that encompasses compassion along the way with it. In essence, consciousness provides the framework for us to think, reflect, and analyze, while intuition offers rapid, often unconscious insights based on our prior experiences. Experiences do matter, right? So when you are in certain moments, you're using what you have come to understand and put it out in the world. That's why when we're younger, we often make a lot of mistakes, and hopefully we learn from them and we stop making so many as we get older. Both work together to navigate the world through intuition, though intuition typically operates in the background, shaping our perceptions and decisions in ways we may not immediately realize. Through this class and the series of classes, you'll be asked ultimately to shift into those clear knowings of intuition, because we're going to be expanding our consciousness, which segues me right into what is known as the 7 Hermetic Principles. And the 7 Hermetic Principles can be found in a book called the Kybalion. And the Kybalion was first published in 1908 by 3 anonymous individuals who called themselves the 3 Initiates. These principles are rooted in ancient Hermetic philosophy, which is based on the teachings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, a mythical figure who embodies wisdom and knowledge. And the idea of it being mythical is because there's no information out there that in the history records of Hermes. But some say that Hermes is also Thoth, the god of Egypt. And so if you're interested in Egyptology, or you have an understanding of the god Thoth and you've looked at the emerald tablets, some say that these could have played a factor in the Hermetic principles. Let me start by saying, when we look at these Hermetic principles, you can apply them to your daily life. And think about this, maybe even write it down. Your focus is your superpower, where you're placing your attention. And so even people that they have found, people that have anxiety, right? And they get on the moment anxiety, they can be in the middle of the grocery store somewhere and it hits them and overtakes them. That if they practice focus and intention, that they can shift from that moment of anxiety into a new space of what we can call it peace, or a space of collecting their awareness together, of greater consciousness into the moment. That isn't necessarily an easy thing to do, and it takes effort and perhaps practice, especially if someone has had anxiety or situations like that for a very long time. But learning to focus and being conscious and an observer in those moments of anxiety can help us then move into a place of making a conscious decision on, what do I want to bring energetically to this moment? What thought can I invoke? How can I shift myself? And so if our focus is our superpower, and it is, then the first Hermetic principle, mentalism, that all is mind, is powerful. And this is ancient stuff that goes back to both Greece and Egypt. Therefore, it is not New Age kind of thinking that all can be mind. And if all is mind, then any given moment when we learn to shift mind, and it's not having a still trap mind, it's more about learning to work with the emotion and how we can bring focus and attention. And so the principle reads as everything that exists in the universe is a mental creation. The physical world, our experiences, and our perceptions are all products of the mind. Being aware of our energy and our emotions goes a very long way. So when they start to shift, we get a little intuitive nudge perhaps, and we can head certain things off at the pass if it's an emotion that we aren't wanting to experience. And it isn't shutting emotions out. That doesn't serve anyone. We're not talking about cutting off any emotions, whether we're talking about anger or frustration or worry. What we're talking about is that they don't have to take us down. They don't have to be in the forefront of our experience in that moment. We can acknowledge them while bringing perhaps some softness or supporting shift. And sometimes we have emotions that show up and our mind attaches an experience to it in some way. It can be very helpful to also offer observation and awareness, a little more consciousness into those moments while you're processing them. So, and Spirit wants me to say right now, this has been coming up a lot recently. And so I'm Leanne and you are you, right? Like there's several of us and there'll be hopefully many people viewing this through video later. If I am not me and you are not really you, then we are the observer having the moment of being that. I am the one that was me before I was me. I am the one who is experiencing being Leanne. And so if I am not just that, and that there is more than that to me, and I can bring that awareness, that consciousness in through in moments of distress of any kind, whether it's dealing with a situation in your life, whether it's work or family or health or whatever it is, or just a moment that kind of energy comes at you and you just are recognizing anxiousness or your own interpersonal things going on, you can learn to bring awareness to the moment. Start with that concept that I am the me that was me before I was me. And then therefore we can also send love to ourselves in a bigger way, especially when we need it. Okay, here's a way to apply the principle of mentalism. It is to recognize that your thoughts shape your reality by cultivating a positive mindset, practicing mindfulness, and focusing on empowering thoughts. You can influence your external world. Becoming aware or conscious of your mental patterns allows you to reframe negative beliefs and create more of the life you desire. This is all about what you desire. It's not pretending into anything. It wouldn't be of service for us to pretend we feel good all the time or to try to just feel good all the time if you know that you're going through something, but it's offering a little more awareness to soften whatever that is. And the principle of mentalism is, as we get going with the 7 Hermetic principles, a way to think about what is my superpower as I go through today. And so that's part of your homework, and homework is just an invitation to put some focus in your week until you watch the next video here in our series. And it's an invitation to think about what energy can I move through today, knowing what your day may look like or not. So when things happen, you're going to be centered in that moment. Being somewhat of a guide, perhaps, of others even around you energetically, because they don't have to know. They don't need to know that you're centered and you're focused and you're bringing awareness to the moment. All right, so let's move on to the second principle, which is of correspondence. You may have all heard the term as above, so below, as below, so above. All things are coming from within and they extend outward, and as they are outward, invites in more of what is out there. So what's the evidence of your life is what was going on up here in mentalism and what's going on inside of you. And so that's why you don't need to look as experiences that you have as necessarily bad. Some circumstances that we're going to go through and situations in life are going to be very undesirable, unsatisfactory, not what we were wanting perhaps in the moment. But if you can invite in some of that awareness, then what is going on is that you're not staying in that lower level of thinking perhaps, and that's only up to you. Lower level of thinking isn't a judgment here. It's that I'm not desiring this. Therefore, how can I transition or move or see the positive that could come from it? Or at least invite time and space into my life so that that undesirable experience can reveal itself to me in a new way. Often in hindsight, we can see it. So glad I broke up and I'm not in that relationship anymore, right? Anybody ever think that? But not wanting to go through a breakup, right? Those things are unsatisfactory, undesired. So offering a moment in your mind to say, this too shall pass, or this will be used to my benefit when I can get some clarity on it. The principle of correspondence works with that same kind of energy. There's harmony, agreement, and correspondence between the different planes of existence, whether physical, mental, or spiritual. What happens on one level of reality reflects in other levels. So invite something in to show up that's a blessing, that's good, that doesn't need to hang on to the old story that this was a horrible thing that happened to me, because now in this moment, I'm loving, I'm compassionate, I have more to offer. And so we can always shift what we think is negative, and more will be in response to that as we come down the road into some of the other principles. Here's an application. Understand that the patterns you see in your immediate surroundings, in relationships, work, or even in your emotions, what's cycling through, right, are often reflections of larger cosmic patterns. Sometimes people can relate to the idea of cause and effect happening in their life, or a circular pattern of lesson and learning. I'm always having these kinds of relationships. I always have this problem with, this family member, whether it's my mom or what have you. I'm always having troubles with my work or my job in this way. Think of things cycling through, right? And so they're a reflection of a pattern. By improving one area of life, such as emotional well-being, you can improve others. Because when we get the habit of shifting up vibration in one area of our life that we might be really good at, we can move that into other areas of life. That's really a good idea of the application of using energy to our benefit from what's going on within, so the outer world doesn't take us down, okay? Emotional well-being, and you can improve, you can even help others improve through your energy, whether they know it or not. And science has been getting more tapped into that. They have studies now that cortisol can leave your body and impact other people around you. This is science, that the chemicals from one person's body can have an influence on others. They did some tests on fear and sweat even, where they took people who are high diving, meaning flying out of airplanes, and they used a certain kind of clothing with them to collect their sweat. And then people that were just going through a difficult situation. And then they took people who were in brain scans, and they had people smell the sweat, and the fear was felt, and it accessed parts of the brain. And people that were smelling the skydiver sweat. And so can you imagine, being part of that study and taking on someone's sweat? But that is a powerful thing, that our bodies and our sweat and what's coming off of it and the chemicals. And so if these people weren't in a fear-induced space and they're smelling someone else's sweat, it's contagious. And it was so amazing that I had a friend that posted a video recently that talked about how compassion and sharing and giving and caring for other people and hugs were contagious. And it's true. And so we want to be mindful of what energy are we bringing to the table to help shift some things so that we can even help others. Okay, I'm going to just stop at those 2 principles for this week because I'm going to quickly touch on one other topic, because what I see as a spiritual teacher here for more than 14 years is that a lot of people don't work with their intuition or follow it through to expand and grow it, is because they're comparing themselves to others. And a comparison to others dims your personal light, and your personal light is amazing. It doesn't matter if you're 20, or let's just say any age, but 20 or 50 or 70 or 80, you have a light to shine still. There's still growth for you to have, new things to learn. And when we compare ourselves to others, or I'm not as good as, we're not only telling the cells in our body, and we're telling the universe as well. Remember, within, so without, as above, so below. We want to be mindful of the language we're using and the comparisons we're making so that our own inner personal light, the value that you bring to this world, and just being here means that you have a big value, then that can shine. First of all, comparison brings in unrealistic standards, perhaps. And so wanting to compare yourself to anybody else, it sets yourself up for failure, because then you're always looking over your shoulder, and then you become competitive. And it's fine if you're being competitive with yourself in a very kind way, right? Otherwise, it just kind of makes you be a little less than you. And that's what we're avoiding here. This leads to unrealistic standards for yourself, always when you're looking at comparing yourself to others. And when you inevitably fall short of these standards, it makes you feel inadequate or like you're not enough. And when people feel that way, they start to step away from something that could be really good for them. And it damages our self-worth. Negative self-talk starts to happen, and people do it kind of naturally without recognizing it. Yeah, but I don't have your gifts. Or yeah, but I don't see things that way. And that kind of negative self-talk invites energy in to grow that feeling within yourself. And I want for all of you to not. I want you to definitely own that natural born intuitive strength, the rising of consciousness that's always within you. Constant sense of lack, and we don't even recognize it at times. I've been there. Maybe you've been there too, where you are feeling that you're not enough. I'm not going to get that chance. I'm not going to get that opportunity. Somebody else is better than me. It's a real good way to cut yourself off from your potential is by thinking in a lack way. It makes us focus on the external validation that we might need. Was I right? Did that work? Was that okay? What do you think? We want to be mindful when it comes to intuition with the idea of needing that external validation. How about it fosters envy and resentment? You know, she always has the answer. She's always talking up first. She's always, right? We start to become that person that's cutting someone else down. How about impaired focus on your own personal growth? If I'm always looking at what everybody else is doing, am I really knowing what's for me? The perception of permanence. Hopefully we're all growing and evolving. And those changes that grow and evolve us makes us have depth and you know, on a good day wisdom, right? So when you compare yourself to others, especially in moments of self-doubt, you may feel like their success or traits are permanent and unachievable, while yours are fleeting and limited. And then you become limited because you're focused there. How about the loss of your authenticity? And we don't even know it's happening. So I want you to think about those things. It can be referred to as the big ego or the little ego at times, right? And so this is something we're going to need to come back to regularly, but I want for you to start to recognize it. Okay, the other thing that I want for everybody here, whether you're listening to this back or today, is that I want you to think about the 7 Hermetic principles. Feel free to look them all up. You could Google it or watch a spiritual guru speak about them on YouTube. But I want you to pick one and try to do it for the whole week, to think about it, bring it to mind, apply it to something here, and share it with someone. And it's okay if you share it with a family member, a coworker. You know, you might say, hey, have you heard of the 7 Hermetic principles? I'm thinking about the first principle is all is mind, the principle of mentalism. Share it with someone. If you feel uncomfortable sharing it, share it with your dog, share it with a plant in your house, share it with a candle, wherever you want to share that, so that you are in the mindset of taking on these principles that help you become that observer, because from the observer standpoint, that we can really expand our consciousness, invite peace in our life, regardless of what is going on. And with that, I am going to close off this first class that we just had, and I'm excited for you to journey with me as we continue to look at expanding our consciousness and growing our intuition. All right, until next time, guys, and thank you for being here.